Thanks for joining, everybody. Happy Wednesday. Today, we're going to be presenting some content around Tikit's use case as a unified ITSM solution for HR, for marketing, for accounting, and IT, of course. In other words, we're going to be talking about Tikit's use case as a multi-department ITSM solution, as opposed to just a solution for IT. So let's go ahead and meet the presenters. I'll go first. My name is Joel Doss. I'm the director of sales. Been with Cyerson for about 10 years or so. So as a result, I wear a few different hats around, sales, customer success, some other hats as well. But looking forward to participating in today's presentation. Adam, I don't know if you want to introduce yourself next.
Oh, I thought we were going to go in reverse, but sure, I'll jump in. Jeff, you
We
can
could
go
do it that way too.
No, it's all good.
You go.
All right, cool. My name is Adam Dysaki. I'm the director of product here at Tikit. I've been here for about 4 years now, but I've been involved in just ITSM service management for, I would say, the better part of the last decade plus at this point. And I'm responsible for Tikit's roadmaps and the features that we add, customer outreach, and also hosting Technically Speaking the last Friday of every month as our kind of like our customer get together call to talk about features that are coming out, and then also answer just any questions that you have. Jeff.
Yeah. Hey everybody, I'm Jeff, part of the customer success team. My job is all about making sure you lovely customers get the most out of the product. And that comes in a range of ways, from understanding it, making sure you've got all the knowledge and information you need to configure it, doing training sessions. We have our professional services team if you want help configuring some bits of the product, all that sort of thing. So really great to be presenting today.
Thank you, Jeff. Okay, so before I forget, if anyone has attended a Cyerson or a Tikit webinar, probably within the last year or so, you probably know that Teams gives us the ability for a Q&A functionality. You can ask questions, anything about the content that we're sharing, about your account, whatever you want. We will do our best to respond to these sort of in flight. Sometimes questions are a little bit more difficult to respond to via chat, sort of multi-part questions, or even like more advanced process questions. For that reason, we may choose to hang on to a couple of them. Also, if there's recurring questions, we may hang on to those and respond to them more conversationally at the end of the session. We should have time for that. We may even reach out and say, this topic makes more sense for a meeting, and we'll invite you to connect with us. So if you do post a question and you want to keep it private, you can also just indicate that in the question. So again, we'll do our best to respond. One way or another, we'll get those questions answered either in the session at the end or perhaps offline, but we welcome the questions. In any case, I guess let's get into the introduction. So time flies. We've been a Microsoft-centric ITSM provider for almost 15 years now. As I said, I've been along for most of that ride. Been with Cyerson for a little over 11 years now, so kind of seen a lot of different evolutions with our company, but we've remained true to our sort of identity as a Microsoft-centric ITSM provider throughout. When we set out to develop Tikit, we wanted to basically meet our customers' ask, meet the market's ask for a solution that's easy to deploy, but a lot more intuitive to use than traditional ITSM products. That was sort of our goal. We feel like we've met that by taking this path of building the solution natively into Teams. Ease of use is something that we're always working on, but we feel like we've done pretty well with so far. And going back even years ago, our customers were saying, our IT customers were saying, our users are saying, hey, we're all collaborating, we're communicating, we're basically living in Teams. Why does IT keep sending us to a standalone portal when we need some technical support? So our vision for Tikit was to, above all else, kind of solve that problem. We always knew that if we delivered on that, that the product's appeal might extend beyond just its identity as a ticketing solution for IT. But I would say over the past probably year and a half, we've been really encouraged that many of our customers have sort of organically latched on to the product's ease of use and proactively extended it beyond IT across their respective organizations. In many cases, several departments have begun using the Tikit solution, not just IT. So, kind of in the title of the session, we've seen some themes on that for sure. A lot of interest from HR, facilities, finance, marketing, even sales in some cases. In other words, normally departments that wouldn't normally latch on to a traditional ITSM solution per se. But we wanted to put together some content and share some of those use cases with everyone today. So that is the plan. We've got some scenarios to walk through. Jeff will be taking that over in a second here. And we'll get into some live demo scenarios from Adam. And hopefully everyone finds the content helpful. Jeff, I believe you can take it away.
Yeah, thank you. So yeah, as Joel said, we hopefully a lot of you, hopefully all of you actually, are finding a lot of value from Tikit, in probably just one department. And as Joel said, we do see more and more customers are already doing this, but perhaps quite a few of you here have come here because you're looking to achieve this. You're finding a lot of value in one department from Tikit. It's a good chance as IT. That isn't always the case, but there's a good chance as IT. I think IT is the kind of obvious one. I mean, the term or the acronym ITSM is very well known. IT service management is a very kind of defined practice that nearly all organizations follow. But yeah, you've got that value there in IT. How can you extend it elsewhere? How can you do that same thing, replicate that same success into other departments? Because just like IT is a support department, just like how its function is to serve the needs of the business, to respond to issues, to provide answers to requests, there are so many other departments like that. HR is the classic one. I think that's always a kind of really hot topic on these sorts of things because they get a lot of requests, but there's others as well. There's facilities, accounting, finance, procurement, and more that I can't think of right now. But I'm sure you guys are thinking of them because you know what's going on in your own organizations. Those teams right now could be struggling with how to manage their work. They could be kind of dealing with post-it notes and really frustrating things like that. They could be dealing with a shared mailbox everyone's kind of diving into. And trying to sort of allocate work in that and keep track of who's doing what and what still needs doing. And those things come with a lot of struggles. But as we're going to see with Tikit, you can add another department and all that kind of good value you're getting, all that investment, all that setup you've done can just transfer straight over to another department. And not just one other, a third and a fourth. And in fact, there is no limit to how many times you can kind of keep rolling that out to further and further people. But there is a little bit of a struggle in when we do that. On one side, we want separation. We want these departments to have their own separate list of work and not get it all mixed up. That's the kind of operational thing as partly, just to kind of keep everyone focused on what's in front of them and not get distracted or confused by other things. But it's also very much a security thing, a compliance thing. I've already mentioned HR. That's a really big one that comes to mind when we think about they need to keep their tickets separate. We're looking for separation of this work and no kind of mix and matching. But on the other side, we want to keep things simple. We want to keep things together because that helps with our administration. It helps with our collaboration. Because no ticket sort of lives in, a lot of tickets don't just live in one place. So the idea of having things together in one place really kind of suits us as well. And we've still got that struggle. And what we've got with Ticket is we can give you that balance where we can keep things separate, where they need to be separate, where that's really important to you for certain things. And you can also kind of manage it together in one tool, one system, and have the benefits of that. Ticket uses the Microsoft 365 security model to keep that separation. It's all based on membership of groups and teams. And if you trust that for your data and your teams and your conversations, then you can trust Ticket to keep that data separate from different departments. Just going to walk us through quickly kind of how that looks in Ticket. If you're not familiar, I've just got 4 things to call out here. I'm just going to start in the bottom left. Team or department assignment. So yeah, when you bring in extra departments, they're mapped to teams in Microsoft Teams. So that's why we use the word team as well there. And that just becomes part of the properties, part of the data of a ticket. Which team does it belong to? And then you get this, that allows us to have this kind of 3-layer assignment, which team, which group within that, which sort of sub team, and then an individual person beneath that. So you get this kind of 3-layer assignment. But the security is all around that top layer, that team. That's the bit that the kind of security revolves around. So you get really nice granular assignment to different sets of people and different groups. Moving around anti-clockwise for no reason at all. Let's talk about multi-mailbox. With Ticket, you can have separate mailboxes for each team being monitored and the email being created into tickets. That's really good if you've got those departments right now. Like I said, maybe using a shared mailbox today, you can just suck those emails in as tickets. From the business point of view, the process doesn't need to change overnight. They can still email that mailbox. But now we're creating tickets for those. We manage them as tickets in Ticket, not as emails in Outlook, which just gives us a lot more control and the ability to manage that and report on it and see what we're doing well and see what we're not doing so well so we can improve. Self-service catalog. These multi-department experiences, these different teams can be exposed through the help card in Ticket. So when someone types help to the virtual agent, to the bot, it can respond with the common requests and common FAQs, knowledge articles across all your departments. So it becomes that one place to go for everything. And the end users don't need to know, they don't care which department's going to kind of serve them that. They can just go and ask that question, and Ticket helps them get to the right place. It removes that sort of barrier and baggage for your business users. And kind of following from that is the department picker. In the worst case scenario where we don't get a match on our AI and the bot doesn't know how to respond, then it will at least ask them, well, which department shall I send this to? So the user does ultimately stay in control of that. We don't need to have one of those departments being like the kind of super department who deals with the triage of all the tickets. At the very least, we can get tickets to the right department based on the end user's choice there through the bot experience. So we'll see that as well. So we're going to see all of this, or a lot of this, in play, I think, as we transition into the demo. So I think it's time for me to hand over to Adam for some cool demos.
Yeah, let me flip my screens. Let's see. All right, and then we all see, or at least someone can give me a thumbs up that we're on looking at Microsoft Edge and Ticket Virtual Agent Service Catalog.
Yeah, you're good to go, Adam. All yours.
Yes, thank you. Okay, so like Jeff said, we have a handful of scenarios we want to run through that kind of touch on all these points of multi-department within Ticket. And I think the theme that I want, or I guess the theme, the stage, I guess I want to set throughout all of this, which is true of all of these examples, and something to take with you as you're looking at Ticket and working inside of teams, is really at the end of the day, in a multi-department scenario, everyone is a requester to another service desk. Everyone has the opportunity to be a requester. Everyone has the opportunity to be a service desk. And what starts, as we've heard from Joel and Jeff, inside of IT, maybe providing that classic service desk functionality to end users who have IT requests, it's really no different than a request to HR or a request to finance for, let's say, reimbursement, a request to marketing for, let's say, updates to a website, right? Again, everyone can be a requester and everyone can be a service desk. And that kind of can all start with Ticket Virtual Agent. And that's exactly where I want to start, because it's just one of the places that we can begin to actually experience a multi-department scenario. So as you no doubt already know, Ticket Virtual Agent acts as just kind of one of those starting points for an end user creating tickets, getting knowledge, obtaining approvals, and in some cases actually receiving custom notifications from Notification Center. Now, I guess before we really get into this and highlight, we're clearly on the help card here. We have a service catalog. The very first thing I actually want to touch on is a question we get occasionally. I think it's a super valid one. And it's, why is there only one Ticket Virtual Agent? Right? Like, why not have this end user experience on a per department basis? Why not have like facilities with its own version, HR with its own, right, et cetera, et cetera? And the reason I want to touch on this is because this is actually this is a decision we made very early on when we were getting started with Ticket, because we found that, if we had a bot per department, you kind of get overwhelmed relatively quickly. That's a lot of different conversations to keep track of. That's a lot of different bots. You'd have to remember who to go to. Like, okay, that's the facilities one. That's the HR one. Like, it leads to confusion rather quickly. So whereas having a single bot, right, that gives employees one place, a single experience to go and be served, again, by as many departments as you have configured inside of Ticket. And that's why, starting with, again, the help card here, you can customize this experience to have, knowledge articles per those departments, to have tickets and templates per those departments, to have links per those departments, right? And again, whatever departments you actually want to surface on this card, you can, because it's fully customizable. Now, the help card's obviously just an example, right? You no doubt are going to put things that commonly come up in your organization on this card. But of course, it should go without saying that there's probably going to be something that comes up that isn't common, that doesn't fit on this card, that someone's going to actually have to ask for from Ticket Virtual Agent. And that's why then the second way we can experience multi-department is really just by creating a ticket. So if I were to say something like new ticket or even log a ticket, what's going to happen is that Ticket Virtual Agent is going to respond back to me with the new ticket card. And the very first thing you're going to notice is that I can pick where I want this to go, which department should be managing this request. And it just so happens I do have a request here for, what was it? I need access to Joni Sherman's mailbox to view her contacts as she since left the company, right? And again, I get to pick where I want this to go. So again, for example, I'm going to pick and say this goes to human resources, and I'm going to submit that request. Now, after I've submitted this request, right, I'm going to get this experience that is going to be pretty standard, that I think we're all familiar with at this point, right? You get the ticket number, and you can go see, they can reply to it, they can add attachments. But I actually don't want to spend too much time here, because I'm actually looking to get to what this experience is like on the agent side, and no less for the HR department on the agent side. And it just so happens that I actually have an employee in HR right over here. His name's Lee. Lee is our HR employee, and he can only see HR tickets. He only knows the world of HR. And if I were actually to go into Teams, you can actually see that here's the ticket that's just been created. And again, he only has access to the HR team. That's it. And I guess, in fact, just for the sake of argument, the hidden teams are just the default company team. I want to be clear. There's no smoke and mirrors here. Lee genuinely can only see the HR team. That's all he experiences. So over in tickets, if we were to refresh this page, again, Lee can only see all the tickets assigned to human resources. That's it. And if we jump into this ticket, Lee's obviously then free to work this ticket, right? Again, we could see that it's assigned to HR. We could see what this is, right? But the thing to highlight here in this multi-department scenario is that while the requester has defined who this actually goes to, and Lee not, I repeat, not actually having access to those other teams, it doesn't mean Lee cannot actually reassign to those teams. So again, by virtue of how Tikit chooses to integrate with Teams and Microsoft Intra, we at least can show what those other teams are that you've configured in Tikit, but it doesn't mean they can actually see what's in those other teams. So this is also great because let's say an end user actually submits it to the wrong team. Maybe you need to reassign it to a different team, right? That is possible here. And again, it allows you to maintain that silo of security of HR tickets go to HR, finance goes to finance, et cetera, et cetera.
And Adam, he can only access the HR tickets because it's mapped to that team. Is that right? I'm not configured that separately. It's based on the actual members of that actual team.
Correct. Yes.
Awesome.
Yeah. So, again, if there's any questions, feel free to throw them in the Q&A. All right. So, demo number two. What's our second scenario here? Because we can clearly see through this that Teams helps us maintain those security silos of work, right? We can clearly isolate teams from one another. We can isolate the tickets from one another, which is great. But I want to touch on again something Jeff brought up, and it's equally valid here, which is what if I actually need to enable true cross-team work, right? Yes, I know I can reassign this ticket, but what if I need all different types of teams and departments available on a ticket out of the gate, the minute this thing gets created? And I need to enable that collaboration. I want to facilitate that collaboration within teams, across those teams, and across those departments. And I need to do it, let's say, between like HR and finance and facilities, and then maybe IT. So let's do that right now, because I'm going to submit another request. I am going to go over to Tikit Virtual Agent. I'm going to bring up the help card again. And what I want to do is actually, I'm going to fill out a onboarding request. That's what I want to do. I want to onboard an employee because this onboarding request actually is associated with a ticket template, custom form here, and a ticket lifecycle behind the scenes that is going to bring all of these departments together. So I'm going to hire Harvey Birdman. He's going to be our senior counsel. He works in legal. He is going to be full-time. He's going to start on the 21st. He needs a desktop and also probably a mobile phone. And I'm going to submit this request. Now, once again, I don't want to spend too much time on this form. I don't want to spend too much time on like what this process is, other than I got it started, and then immediately flip over into our agent experience, because there's a couple different agent experiences actually happening with this. And it all begins no less, let me leave that really quickly. No less actually begins right back inside of HR. So if we're looking at this, we clearly have a task, and Lee is now in the My Work view, right? So Lee, once again, is our HR employee. He's in the My Work view, where he can see all of the tickets, tasks, and approvals assigned just to him. And so he clearly now has a background check here. I should also add, he does have a background check inside of Tikit Virtual Agent. He's received that notification of whether or not he should approve or reject this. Again, can work however you so choose here and per those departments. So let's jump in a background check for a couple different reasons. One, we want to approve this, but two, I also just want to highlight the nature of this ticket. So first of all, you can see that this ticket is assigned to human resources. Makes sense. It's a request. It's for onboarding. We have a life cycle. We have a template. And we also have these several phases of work. And the very first phase of work is candidate review. It's an approval. And you'll notice that as part of the life cycle, what we've done is we've just populated more information to make it as clear as day what should be done with this approval. So as long as the employee passes the background check, we're going to mark this as approved. And if not, we're going to reject it. And we also have a couple of other phases of work after this happens. Because again, as you're no doubt aware, a life cycle, for all intents and purposes, is always going to be attempting to move forward. Understandably, yes, you could modify this with Logic Builder and it can bounce around. But for the sake of this example, we're always going to be moving forward. We're always trying to move forward in the life cycle in an effort to actually mark this ticket as resolved. So we move to finances and accounting, we move to facilities, we move to IT, and we can actually see that there's like some tasks and also some Power Automate tasks as well. So for the sake of argument, I'm actually just going to click on approve. I want to get this process started. So if once we've approved this, you can see that candidate review has been completed, right? I'm going to actually toggle this really quickly because now you'll notice we are in financial management because candidate review has been completed. But there's a couple things that have actually happened here. One that's happened by virtue of this being a life cycle, in that once all of the approvals, tasks, and Power Automate tasks and a phase of work are completed, that phase is done and we move forward. That happens out of the gate, out of the box, exactly how it should. So it's no surprise that we're in financial management, but there is one small nuance here. If I go back to the activity page, or if you're looking relatively closely on this page, you'll notice the team in this case has actually changed hands, because as you'll remember from just a couple moments ago, this originated in HR. The ticket was created, it came in from Tikit Virtual Agent, it was marked as HR, and now we're in accounting. And you can see the life cycle has actually transitioned us to financial management. But with ticket automations, I'm actually now updating the team on this ticket as we move through those phases of work. Now, the next question is, why would I do this? What's the purpose of updating this team? Because again, based on how life cycles work, everyone that's involved in a life cycle has access to the ticket. We're already in a cross-team collaborative scenario. What would be the point of just updating this value? Well, a couple things. First, from a reporting angle, it could be interesting to see who was the team that was last responsible for that ticket, because maybe that lifecycle fails for a very legitimate reason. Maybe it gets all the way to the end for a perfectly expected reason. Come reporting time, it would probably be remarkably simpler just to be show me all of the tickets with a life cycle and the last team that was responsible for it. So again, interesting reporting angle. But the other reason I'm doing it is because I also want to actually now kick some automations into action. Now, of course, if we look at financial management, you'll notice we don't have any assignees. So there's actually no one to notify in this case, which is a problem because we do need someone from finance to do this. But again, we don't have assignees. So other thing that's also happening, and just bear with me because there is actually a third employee involved in this. And that third employee is in fact Diego. Diego, seen here in dark mode, is one of our employees in finance. And he actually now has notifications for 2 tasks that he needs to take care of. And again, what I want to reemphasize here is that there is no assignee on these tasks. So using ticket automations, we can actually say, once this phase of work begins, get those tasks, and then notify the members of the current team. In this case, accounting. So the other reason we're also updating those values, apart from knowing who's last responsible, is also to trigger relevant notifications and automations about this ticket.
And Adam, are we saying now that it no longer is assigned to HR? That was it Lee? He can no longer access it.
Not true. Lee still does have access to it because he was involved in this ticket. So so you can see I'm currently signed in as Lee. We still have access to this ticket.
Thank you.
All right, let's see what's next. Let's move over to our third one because I don't want to say I'm partial to this one, but I do like this one.
Not supposed to have favorites, Adam. Children or demos?
Yeah, you got favorites.
Yeah.
It's in balance.
Okay. All right. All right. So then for our third scenario, I want to do something actually just far more abstract. And by far more abstract, I mean something that has absolutely nothing to do with IT. So, like there's no IT help desk, service desk involved in any of this. But it is another cross-team lifecycle, and it's one that again spans a couple different teams. And it's one that when it comes to, let's say, event planning and budgeting and advertising, the marketing department is really the team that works with people across the org to bring those ideas to reality. So again, not just about facilities or finance, right? I want to jump into a finance and marketing scenario. And again, has nothing to do with IT. And there's also a couple other, if you will, wrenches in this, because while we use Teams, while we use Ticket Virtual Agent to meet our end users and requesters where they are working in Teams, the other thing we also want to do is we want to meet our agents where they work, even if that isn't Teams. And in the case of my environment, when I first deployed Ticket, and this may ring true for several of you on this call, I first deployed it to IT, and then we deployed it to HR because onboarding kind of bounced back and forth between those teams. But in my environment, marketing has always used Asana, and that's how they've managed their tasks. And I'm looking to streamline a couple of those processes. I want to centralize them. I want to automate them. But I also don't want to rock the boat too much, right? So I need a process that essentially starts in Teams with Ticket Virtual Agent, gets the necessary approvals, and then manages work intelligently across Ticket and Asana simultaneously. So again, we're not just going to meet our end users where they are. We're going to meet our agents regardless of the team and department they're a part of as well. So let me bring up the help card again. And I want to organize an event. So when I click on Organize Event, I'm going to get the event planning template and custom form that I've built for my environment. And I want to, what's the name of the event? That's right. I'm organizing a BallmerCon 2024. It's going to be a conference. It is going to be, I think it's on the 20th. And then again, for budget, I'm just going to punch in 2,500. We're going to submit this ticket. Now, with this ticket submitted, again, looks like everything else we have submitted up until this point, right? We have a form or a new ticket form. We get a response of what that ticket is. And again, I don't want to spend too much time on this because I want to jump into what is the agent experience of this ticket. Well, again, let's go back to Diego, our employee in finance. Now, Diego, in the My Work view, once again, can see all of the approvals, tasks, and tickets assigned just to him. So let's click on Review the Event Budget, which again, I should add, Diego also gets inside of Teams. But review the event budget here. What do we got? So it's a two-phase life cycle, right? It's assigned to marketing, event planning, financial approval. Again, as long as the event budget is okay, mark this as approved. Okay, so custom form answers, great, looks good. BallmerCon 2024 on the 20th of next month. Now, before I click approve, what I want to draw your attention to is that I have another phase here, advertising and location setup. Has two flows associated with it. So I'm going to click approve because this looks good to me. Let's plan for BalmerCon, and we're going to move this life cycle forward. And I'm going to give this just a split second, toggle this back and forth, because we're already now going to be in the advertising and planning section, because something else has now clearly changed. Not only is it done, not only or in flight, but we have 2 flows, and now there's also 1 task associated with it. And if I expand this, you're going to see a couple actually different things in here. We can see that we have 2 Power Automate tasks, one for create tasks and Asana, and a second one for create facilities tasks, but only if necessary. And it looks like that if necessary condition was met because, again, I have some tasks here to prepare AV equipment for BalmerCon 2024 on the date that I selected. And in fact, if I toggle this back and forth really quick, again, yep, they're both done. Okay, so of course, I probably should show you what the Power Automate flows look like in this case, because again, this does not involve IT in the least. So for our flows, here's the event planning conditional tasks for facilities, right? So this is going to determine if we actually add a task for facilities. And it starts rather simply. If you're not familiar with this, don't worry, I'll be walking through it here. We have a task for any time this lifecycle PA task becomes active, this flow will begin. You'll notice that it's the create facilities tasks if necessary. For the sake of argument, I just want to highlight, right? That's this right here. So once this phase begins and this task kicks off, our flow over here will begin. We are then going to get the parent ticket of this lifecycle PA flow. We are then going to parse the card answer JSON of this ticket. This is a super common, highly frequently used action inside of almost all of the flows that you will build with Tikit, because it allows you to pluck out all the individual data points of that custom form. And again, the custom form in this case being the title, the type of the event, when the event was, and then what the budget is. So what's the condition? Well, the condition is actually relatively simple. The condition is just simply if the event type is a conference, then we're going to add a task. We're going to take the path of true. And if it's not a conference, we're going to take the path of false. Nothing will happen. But regardless of going down true or false, the thing that will always happen at the very end is we are going to update that PA task and mark it as succeeded. Simple, straightforward, works every single time, only a couple steps. So what about the other Power Automate flow? What about the creating Asana tasks? Well, that flow looks a little something like this. And I might bounce back and forth between the two because what I hope you can see here is they're not really all that different from one another. Right? I still have when a lifecycle PA task becomes active. I'm still getting the ticket. I'm still going to parse the JSON, but something else I'm going to do is I'm going to get the user profile. I'm going to get the user profile of the requester of the ticket. And the reason I want the user profile of the user that submitted and was the requester of this ticket is because I'm going to use the Asana connector inside of Power Automate to build a very custom Asana task. And if you look closely, you can see that I have a task name. It says event planning is required for the name of the event. See, the due date has been set for the day of the event. Please reach out to, and then I put the requester's full name there. I also have the ticket ID in the description, and then again, the due date. So now, what does this look like in Asana? Because again, we might as well just keep traveling down this path. So as it pertains to marketing, here's my Asana task. And if I open this up, you can see event planning is required for BalmerCon 2024. The due date has been set for the day of the event. Please reach out to Adele Vance. There's the due date. We are good. And again, you can also see that in the Asana connector, right, defaults to the current user unless you specify something else. So that's why it currently says me. Okay, so all those examples said, what I hope this illustrates is a couple different things. One, you can have, I would say in summary, you can have your cake and eat it too. You can have silos of tickets that only HR can see, that only finance can see. Problem solved, and you can maintain that confidentiality between the requester and those respective departments. There's also cases that clearly demand more widespread collaboration across several teams. So in the case of an onboarding lifecycle, we clearly need to have multiple teams involved across HR, finance, and IT as well. And even in our third scenario, we can have a lifecycle that touches multiple teams, that allows non-IT specific scenarios, in this case, event planning, and then no less integration with non-Microsoft technologies to meet not just our users, but even some of our agents where they work.